welcome to the shop. Tonight we're going to be building the empty tomb on a bigger scale. Someone requested one, so I've got a piece of walnut, cherry, and oak. I'm going to go ahead and show you a few different ways to cut this, so let's get building and use multiple tools so you get an idea that you could do this yourself. The first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to go ahead and plane the oak and the cherry because I can, they will fit. The walnut we're not going to plane, we're just going to sand it. So let's get that started and get that done quick. So keep in mind, none of these cuts have to be perfect, but we've got a 2x4 that's flush. I know it's 90. Flushed it up at the bottom. Going to use it as a guide. Going to use the circular saw for this cut, just to show you can use multiple different types for these. Did burn a little, but we'll go ahead and sand that up in a bit. Okay, it went better the second time, but not our best cut. I'll fully admit, the jigsaw is not my tool of choice. I'm not good at it. So I'm going to recut this on a different saw, but you can do it. Just you'd have to have more practice and be better at it than I am. I'm going to rip it down to its total height so I can get a better visualization, because most of this isn't exact dimensions. It's just by how you want it to look. Miter saw, table saw with crosscut. Either a sled or miter gauge. So we've got our three pieces, and we have a base that it'll go on, just because this one's going to be pretty big, and I think it should have that. So next up, let me bring you in here and we'll show you. I've started drawing on here a little bit because I wanted to figure out how wide this would be. This knot here is perfect. I'm going to cut right around that. So that'll be our opening, and I will go ahead and you can see I already drew a red line. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out. I think we'll do this one on the scroll saw. Cut that out using the bandsaw. Sorry, forgot to hit record. Okay, now that we've got this one, the oak, done, we'll go ahead and draw how we want this one to go, and then we'll cut that out and we'll do the same thing to the walnut. I'll be using the bandsaw on all of them, so I'll show you some of that cutting, but we're going to speed it up just to go fast and get to that point. So let me get these drawn and cut out. I know it's hard to see, but I want to show you that right here was my red line. I could go make it darker, but so basically, when I came around on the saw, I couldn't get to there because of the saw itself. Now, I could go back and do it this way, but I just put it over there, and I'm like, you know what? I don't mind that. So it's really not a mistake because there is no set pattern to this. You can do whatever you like. So just, you know, if you prefer to have that in there, go change it. If, you know, flip it around, cut it. If not, leave it. I traced my door opening on my oak onto another piece of oak, because I'm going to cut it bigger so I can make the rock. So here's a look at the whole thing before we start any finishing. And then our base is over here. That is my vision right there. I'm going to go ahead and sand these up. Right now I'm using this upside down. I'll show you a little bit here. Kind of nice with that battery that's stable. So I know Chris from A Glimpse Inside makes a jig to hold it upside down. I haven't picked one up yet, but now I might have to. So I'm going to go ahead and sand all of these to 120 on the back, just to smooth it out. And on the fronts, I'm going to go up to probably 150 or 220, and then we'll start the glue up process. So we'll get this stained also tonight, and that way tomorrow when we start gluing up, it's all set to go. So I'm not going to show you all this sanding. You know how to do that.
So here I'm using my router to put a round over on all the pieces. And next we're going to go ahead and water pop them, so when I finish them with a water-based finish, they'll be smooth. But I ended up using oil in the long run. However, still they'll be smooth. And we'll do our final sanding after a little cleanup. How many of you clean up your shop as you go?
I had some water-based poly left over from a previous project. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray this because it was still in my sprayer. Yes, I know, I should have taken care of that. That may be a little too white. We're going to see how that turns out. That's the bottom. I'll leave that overnight, see how it turns out. I may have to sand that. That's why I'm testing it out on the bottom. I did stir it up So it's in a sealed container on the gun, so we're okay there. So see what happens. If this turns out, I'll spray the rest of it tomorrow. I'm not going to stain these. I wanted a natural wood look, so I'm just going to flip this off here. Go ahead and put some glue on there. I do want to try to avoid some squeeze out, so I think we're just going to keep it to the center. Something's telling me I should have used the salt trick, but I don't have any salt out here, so.
The next day.
So what I'm doing here is I'm marking to the bottom of that with this pocket rule, and then I flip it over at a 1/2 inch, and I go ahead and mark the hole for the screws. After that, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill those holes and countersink them, and then we'll go ahead and put some screws in, get it lined up, get them all marked, all 5, and then we'll go ahead and take it apart and glue it and screw it together.
If I'm going to have squeeze out, I prefer it out the back. Much easier to clean it up. We do have some glue out to clean up, so I'm going to get that cleaned up and we'll start finishing. And now the big reveal, the oil. Change my mind on the poly, I'm going to go with the tung oil. I just thought it might make that grain pop a little better. And this is the point where we get it all done and realize we forgot a piece. So I got this far and I realized I forgot a piece of it. There's a cross I want to put on this. And I was going to glue it to the back possibly, and now I've got oil on there and finish, and I don't know if that's going to work. And rather than try to sand it and make it look right, I've come up with plan B. So let's get started on that. So I was playing around with positioning and I thought this was getting a bit too tall. And then I found I think it'll go right here really well. And I can make it that size. And that still might be a little big. So I'm trying to decide if I should cut this down further. My one thing is I need a good diameter on it because I'm going to use a 1/4 inch dowel pin as my solution for putting it on there. So that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and make some decisions and get this cross made up, and then we'll get it on there. Okay, corner to corner. Tiny dab of wood glue, a little bit of super glue, accelerator. I'm going to just spray this over here. Go ahead. There is a gap on my cross. It is not perfect. My half laps weren't perfect. But it's okay. This project doesn't have to be perfect in every way. I kind of want it a little bit off due to what it represents. So we're going to go ahead and leave that, and we're going to get this all buttoned up. So I did mark where I wanted that hole on that. So let's go ahead and drill that. Now, yeah, this one's a little tricky because our drill bit's not long enough. I got to think about that for a second, see what I can do. So here's my solution. I've got these drill bits with a 1/4 inch hex on them. Put it on an extender up here. Now, I don't like to do this because it's hard to keep it straight. So it's like, would I be better off just drilling at an angle? But we're going to try our best. And I think it's time to invest in a new set of these guys for the shop, because that's for in the house for light duty. Go ahead and drive. I think that looks about perfect, don't you? It does lean off of there a little bit, but I don't even think that matters. So I think we're going to go ahead and glue that in there. Just pour a little glue inside of here. Push our dowel in. I'm going to put the wood glue on the dowel here. Put some super glue on the wood. Sorry, it's hard to do this and show you. I'm going to go ahead and blow that off, put another coat of oil on it, and I'll show you the final product. So here we have the final version of it that'll be going into a church. It's a little bit bigger than most. A lot of them are only 12 inches, 11 inches wide, 6 inches tall for home use. But I just wanted to show that you can, just about anybody can make this. You don't have to have a bunch of fancy tools. You don't even have to have the fancy woods. You can make this out of pine and just stain them different colors. I've seen some stained all the same color. Whatever you prefer. Just go ahead and get out there and make one. If you want to put it in your own house, post them, sell them. I've seen the smaller ones catching 35, 40 bucks this Easter in 2022 or pre-Easter here. So just go ahead and give it a shot and use any of the tools. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially a project like this. This is not perfect, but that doesn't bother me. You know, it signifies that we were imperfect. And so go ahead, get one made today. If you like this, go ahead and click on this video here to take a look at some other projects or some tool reviews down here. Thanks, have a good night.